Hi kids, Uncle Robert here. Welcome to another wee word. And today we've brought you to the foothills of the Mournes mountains, because today we're going to climb the mountains. We've got our big boots on, we've got our rucksack, nice flask of tea and some sandwiches for later. But we need to get cracking because it'll take about an hour and a half to get up to the top of Slieve Binnion, and then at the top we'll take a look down and see the beautiful silent valley. And then when we get there, we want to tell you all about mountains and valleys. So let's get cracking, let's get going before it gets too late. Boys and girls, we've got ourselves halfway up the mountain. Getting warm, I've taken my coat off and you can see the lovely valley view down below. But we're not going that way, we're going up to the top of the mountain. But of course you can't get to the mountaintop experience without having first to come through the valley experience. And that's the way it is very often for the Christian. There are three valleys in the Bible that I want to speak about. And the first valley is this, the valley of Eshcol. And that valley, boys and girls, is the valley of decision. You see, Eshcol is just across into the promised land. And the children of Israel had to make some very hard decisions there. You see, they had sent some spies on ahead, and the spies had noticed that the land was filled with milk and honey, but they also came back with reports to say that there were giants and many people and much opposition. And the people began to murmur, and some wanted to go back, and they had to make a big decision. But in the end, they made the right decision. They went on. They went on and through with God. And for the Christian, there's going to be many valleys of decision, difficult decisions, but leave it with the Lord and go through with Him, and He will guide you. The second valley is the valley of Elah. Boys and girls, the valley of Elah is the valley of opposition, a valley where there'll be trouble, fighting, people opposed to you. David found that because it was in the valley of Elah that he took on and defeated and killed Goliath. Remember the little brook he stopped at, picked up those 5 little pebbles to be about his way, to do that great giant down? That was the valley of Elah, the valley of opposition. And as a Christian, you will find many valleys of Elah in your life, opposition, hardship, but the Lord will enable you to have the victory. The last valley I want to speak about is the valley of Kidron. Boys and girls, it's a really deep valley. It's found just outside Jerusalem, and it's known for the fact that it has a graveyard. And in that graveyard are very ordinary people and very famous people. Some of the famous people would be Samson, Absalom, and perhaps even, I think, Samuel might be in that graveyard as well. And boys and girls, it's a place of death. And sooner or later, we all have to face the valley of death. But for the Christian, it's not just as difficult. David, I think, had that valley in mind whenever he said, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Boys and girls, David could see that there were difficulties in this valley, but they were not real difficulties. They were just shadows. The shadow of a sword will never harm you. The shadow of a dog will never bite you. And the shadow of death will never harm the Christian. And the other good thing is this: the Lord will be with you in that valley. You see, in the valley there is a beautiful flower called the lily. And boys and girls, that lily is a picture of the Saviour. Isn't it wonderful to have the lily in the dark valley, that bright and beautiful flower to cheer you on the way? And so the Lord is with you whenever we come to the valley of Kidron. So here we have these three valleys. We'll not stop anymore. We'll get on up the mountain, and we'll talk then about the mountaintop whenever we get up there eventually. So let's get going. We're now up on the top of the mountain. Took a lot of hard work, but we're here. Now that we're on top of the mountain, boys and girls, I want to talk about the mountaintop experience. There are several wonderful mountaintops mentioned in the Bible. And the first is found in Matthew. The early chapters of Matthew, we read of the Saviour up on the mountain, and He's preaching to the multitudes, and He's teaching them and guiding them and leading them in spiritual matters. And it is a wonderful place of blessing. It's called the Sermon on the Mount. And then, boys and girls, there is another mountaintop experience It's found in Genesis. And there is the top of Mount Ararat. And we're told in Genesis 8 verse 4 that on the top of Mount Ararat, Noah's Ark came and it came to rest. That's the word that's actually used. So the mountaintop experience can be one of rest as well for the believer. And then there's another mountaintop, Mount Sinai. And we read there that Moses received the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. And Mount Sinai is a mountaintop experience for the believer. It's a place of instruction and learning. And we trust that the Lord would even challenge you to learn the 10 Commandments and know them and live by them. But the most wonderful mountaintop experience of all is not in the top of Donard. It's not in the top of Binion. It's not even in the top of Mount Everest. It's Calvary's mountain, Mount Calvary. That's the greatest mountaintop experience anybody can have. To get to Calvary, to see what the Saviour has done, how He was punished and He took our place and He shed His blood and He died that we could be forgiven, we could be saved, we could be on our way to heaven. I hope today that you have gotten to Mount Calvary and you know the Saviour as your own and personal Saviour. Boys and girls, until we meet again, all the best. Bye-bye for now.